said it really wasn't much of a thought process. It's amazing how things don't change, and that seems to be something that is playing out in Green Bay right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. When they drafted Jordan Love, I thought it was a good pick. He's a very talented quarterback for the future. But that's not threatening Aaron Rodgers. He's a Hall of Fame great quarterback, and is playing as well as any quarterback in the league. So it wasn't, they weren't threatening him. They were just looking at the future and something for their team. I understand it. Bill Belichick and I talked about this. I said, Bill, we both know, well, in the old days, when you could have a game manager and run the football and play defense, that's over with. With the rule changes, opening up the passing game, if you're going to win a championship, you have to have a franchise quarterback. And I said, you know what? As important as that franchise quarterback is, the second most important player on your team is your backup quarterback. Because if you don't have a quarterback, you have no shot to win in this league. And quarterbacks are just so valuable. I think some of them are seeing how valuable they are now, and that's why they're saying, hey, I want to go to another team.
Well, I'm not a betting man, but I'm going to make a bet that conversation with Belichick was on a boat with you. Is that a true story? Is that a safe assumption? Safe bet?
On a boat with a cold beverage.
What do you think the Cowboys should do with Dak, Jimmy? What do you think?
They need to get him signed. I mean, they should have given in to the 4-year deal last year. Would have saved them some money. They wanted 5 years. But they got to get him signed. And not only is he an outstanding quarterback, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but he is an outstanding quarterback. And, on top of that, he is a great leader for that football team. So they need to get him signed. And the other thing is, until you find somebody better, you don't ever give up a quarterback. Ever.
I mean, that's just a fact, Jimmy. I mean, you're not, and he's a special kid too. And I don't know, how much better you can get in the NFL. I mean, he was on pace when his leg unfortunately snapped like that to lead the league in passing. Both quarterbacks in the state of Texas could have been 1-2, he and Watson, by the end of the year. But I think Watson would have been looking up at him the way that Dallas was having to play and outscore everybody on offense, Yeah,
Rich, they should have signed him 3 years ago. They should have signed him 2 years ago. They should have signed him, last offseason. And every time they did not sign him, the price just kept going up. But they need to get it done.
So let's talk about Michelob Ultra. They pre-released a Super Bowl commercial that asks an interesting question. Are you happy because you win, or do you win because you're happy? Jimmy, is that what you're here to talk about?
It's really a cool commercial because it got me to thinking. As a coach, I know I was a lot better coach, when I was upbeat and positive and happy. A lot better coach. And so it really is a cool commercial. I like it. And on top of that, the 95 calories and 2.6 carbs, that keeps me slim and trim and active and healthy.
So you were a better coach when happy? Is that what you're saying? That's so how.
You bet. And you know what made me happy? Is winning games.
I bet. What's your I've got to get your favorite Michael Irvin story, Jimmy. Give it to me. Cough it up, please. Give me your best one.
His freshman year at University of Miami. Mm-hmm. They called and they said, Coach, freshman receiver Michael Irvin got into a big fight. And he got into a fight with a 270-pound, 260-pound offensive guard, a senior. I said, and Michael won. And they're in the dining hall. I called Michael. I said, Michael, what in the world are you doing? I said, first of all, you're fighting a big old offensive guard, outweighs you by 70 pounds. I said, he's a senior. I said, what in the world happened? He said, Coach. He said, I was in line, in the dining hall, and just because he's a senior, he broke in front of the line to me. He says, listen, I got a huge family. I've been fighting for chicken my entire life. He said, I wasn't going to let that guy get in front of me. I said, oh, me. But Michael's special. He's obviously one of my favorites of all time. He's family to me. Every time I see him, he puts that big old smile on his face. We hug each other. Great memories of Michael Irvin.
Oh, Jimmy, I'm sure you'll be happy to know that his thoughts on making sure when the buffet is prepared, this is pre-pandemic, and we're in a room for a meeting, it's always a two-plate situation for Michael, and he says the same thing. He's one of a million kids, and the food on his food is his food, and he'll just, it's the same thing. It's the same thing now that he's in his 50s. It has not changed for the kid from St. Thomas Aquinas. Now, he has told us some stories that you, on occasion, Jimmy, would cut somebody if they're asleep in a meeting, if they were sort of like the 53rd man on the roster, but somebody with a lot of Pro Bowl ability might get a nudge to be awakened on time for the meeting. Jimmy, did you ever do something like that?
In a heartbeat. Before every year, I'd go in a meeting. I say, listen, everybody here, you're all on a scale. The harder you work, the more you do what I ask you to do, the more you meet the rules and regulations, and the better player you are, the higher you are up on the scale. If you don't do those things and you're not a good player, you got no margin of error. You're at the bottom of the scale. So I did cut one guy because he was sleeping. He's a backup guard, been late to a bunch of meetings. With Troy or Michael, I would have told them, hey, wake up.
Confirmed by Jimmy Johnson. The scale system.
If I'm the head of a company and my top sales was a little bit late, I'm going to tell him to be on time. If a guy hadn't sold anything, I'm going to say, hey, get you another job.
It's like the steak knives, right? The steak knives and the watch for the Glengarry leads with Jimmy Johnson. Hey, Jimmy, thanks for the call here. Love our chats whenever you come on. Great to hear from you. I assume your Hall of Fame speech is all prepared because, we're waiting for your day to finally hit, and I can't wait for that pandemic to clear for you to get your day in Canton, Jimmy.
Well, I appreciate it, Rich. It will be the shortest speech. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thank all the great players and the great coaches that helped me get there.
That's it? Okay, so can I count you in for that? Because I'm the one sitting on the set hoping for somebody's done after 10 minutes. Can I count you in for just a 10-minute one? That's it?
You mark it down. It will be very brief.
Okay, mark it down. Jimmy, thanks for the call. Michelob Ultra, everybody check out the pre-release Super Bowl commercial that's out right now. Jimmy Johnson from the NFL on Fox and Hall of Fame here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you think, Christopher, heart of hearts, Jimmy Johnson got my Glengarry Glen Ross reference at all?
No.
Okay. Do you think that, in fact, he and Bill Belichick had that conversation on a boat?
Absolutely.
Okay. And how excited, I could just see right there the old school Cowboy fan come out right there.
It was the best days of my life.
The days of the Jimmy Johnson.
If only those two, if only him and Jerry could have just put those differences aside.
There's that too, and also they were the last team prior to free agency coming.
Yeah.
Don't forget, that's when, right before Reggie White went on his free agency tour and changed everything by saying, I'll go to Green Bay. And then the new collective bargaining agreement eventually hit. And, salary caps and things like that came into being. He didn't have to worry about that when he struck that deal for Herschel Walker.
Yeah, true.
None of that stuff was. Look at that picture right there.
Mm.
You could put those two busts in the same way, looking at each other.
Yeah, right.
One day.
I will always contend, had he not gone, we won 4 in a row. And then.
Well, I think they'd all contend that.
Yeah.
But I was there in the building in Candlestick when they lost to San Francisco in the NFC Championship game, and they knew that was the Super Bowl. Although I don't know if anybody really thought that Stan Humphries and the Chargers would be the one to make it eventually, and that they were just a mere speed bump for the 49ers. The Cowboys would have won that game handily, easily. And I don't, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Switzer did have a 15-yard penalty called on him on the bench in that game. That was a little bit costly. I was there as a Cub reporter for, if you will.
Oh yeah,
for Redding, California. Yeah, I covered that game. I was there. I was there with my 3/4 inch camera, and my tripod, ready to do the post-game press conference, and I was shooting the footage from underneath the goalpost when Steve Young, if you remember, he did like a victory lap around that. He came running right past me. And then I went into the interview room in the bowels of Candlestick to get set to record all that stuff. And somebody took my big, huge, thick coaxial cable that attached the camera to the deck, disappeared. I have no idea where it went, and I got nothing. I went all the way to Candlestick and got no post-game sound at all. And then, remarkably, I was on ESPN a year later. I mean, things were just totally crazy back then. But I was at that game. I don't know if Switzer was the reason why they lost that game, but at any rate, good old memories with Jimmy Johnson right there. And 844-204-RICH will take your phone calls, check on what's going on in Philadelphia, and get you set for that Texans press conference. Malcolm Jenkins at the top of the next hour as well here on this Friday show. You have two dogs.
Two dogs, yes.
Okay.
Billie Jean and Bob Costas.
Okay, now let's walk us through here.
So I grew up with all rescue dogs. We were just talking about that. And coincidentally, they all had B names when we adopted them. And so when Andy and I got our first dog, we wanted to give her a B name. And so, of course, we are huge fans of Billie Jean, and Andy adores her, knows her personally. So we named our dog naturally after Billie Jean. When we got our second dog, we just loved Billy and Bob, the idea of two dogs being Billy and Bob. And so we tried to think of like a tennis Bob, and we thought of an Olympics Bob Costas.
Well, you've never met Bob?
No, I have not.
Okay, is the actual real live Bob Costas on the line here on the Rich Eisen Show?
Yes, he is.
Are you there, Bob?
Yes, and I'm just calling to check on my namesake. Hello, Brooklyn, but really I'm more concerned with how my namesake is doing.
Hi, Bob Costas. We've never spoken before.
No, we haven't, and somehow you've managed, I'm sure, to house train and take care of Bob Costas, and the canine Bob Costas is thriving, I trust.
He has his good days and his bad days. House trained is generous. He occasionally leaves us a present on the couch. I hope you don't do the same. And he just got out of his cone last week. So, no, we are not doing a great job raising our Bob Costas. But he is a wonderful, lovely fellow, I'm sure, much like yourself.
And, much like myself, he has his good days and his bad days. And, Rich,
yes.
Now that I'm no longer doing the Olympics, I'm not going to do the Super Bowl, this may be my single best ongoing claim to fame. Andy and Brooklyn have a pup named after me.
Well, were you aware, Bob, of the dog being named Bob Costas?
The first time I became aware was when Brooklyn was a guest on The Tonight Show when Jay Leno was still hosting. And she dropped this bit of info on a breathless public, and I happened to be watching.
Come on. I had no idea. That's so funny.
True story.
Are you offended or are you flattered? Because it can go both ways. I mean, English bulldogs are not attractive dogs.
It's okay. It may help my street cred in some small way. All the help I can get.
I think they are beautiful, beautiful dogs, if that makes you feel any better. Beautiful dogs.
They are beautiful dogs. They don't seem like a perfect physical representation of me, but I'll take whatever you want to offer. It's all good.
And Bob Costas, I can only call you by your first and last name now. So if we meet in person, it will be hello, Bob Costas. You must know that.
I'm ready for it. Thank you, Brooklyn Decker.
Well, I would say Bob Costas stay, but we're out of time, Bob.
Well, thank you, Rich Eisen.
The one and only Bob Costas. So PeacockTV.com is how you can get Peacock. Many people who are, I guess everybody's watching this right now already have that. But anyway, YouTube.com/Rich Eisen Show is another way for you to keep up to speed with this particular program. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. We are right here on the Rich Eisen Show, back here with our radio fans and network. And, back in the day, T.J. Jefferson was talking about in the commercial break, you were that Cowboy fan that Stephen A. Smith despises, right?
Early the mid-'90s when the Cowboys were winning titles, and I was living in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
So amongst all Steeler fans, you couldn't tell me nothing.
So then 25 years of disappointment have humbled you. A quarter century of humbling is what you said.
A little bit. Like, I'll still let it out if you want me to.
No, I know that. But
I try to be humble.
But you don't come in here and say that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl in 2021. You don't do that.
I mean, I would say it, but would I mean it? I don't know about about that. Yeah.
TJ moving on up.
Jefferson, yeah, ladies and gentlemen.